I always try to almost convince the person why you shouldn't take the job.
He actually had me come in to do like a shadowing session. And so like I sat there watching him and he was being very transparent with me the whole time. He's like, "This is what you're gonna do. Are you sure you would be up to doing this?" I was like, "Yeah, like it's fine." But it was funny
Yeah.
because it was almost like you were trying to talk me out of the job.
John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rate. All throughout Philly like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of the two.
Hello, everyone. We are in for a treat today. I am here with my assistant, Lara. And
Hello.
I thought it would be awesome to introduce everyone to her and how special she is to the team.
Oh,
And
thank you.
yeah, and everything's been very new. How long has it been, Lara? It's been
Well, my first day was March 31st, so we've like crossed well over a month at this point, which is crazy. I can't believe it.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, time is flying, but it's been great so far. I loved
Yeah.
it. I love it so
So
far.
I can tell you right now, like firsthand experience, it already feels like you've been working with me for like many years
Same.
already. Yeah.
I feel the same way,
Yeah.
like even with your clients, everyone, I'm like, I feel like I know everyone at this point, even though it's only been a month. But
Yeah.
so far it's been awesome. Like I really feel like I'm adjusting well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we'll dive in and yeah, we'll start this podcast. Laura, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here and your story.
Yeah, I can just tell like a brief about me. So obviously, my name is Lara. I'm 27 years old. I graduated from Rowan University with my degree in public relations and business management. So when I first started, I thought that that was kind of what I wanted to do. But my mom has actually been in the real estate business in New Jersey for over 10 years. And that's kind of where my love for real estate kind of ignited. I got my license when I was like 18 years old, and I was always like behind her, listening to all her calls and all this stuff. So I had a lot of like experience with it. But throughout my experience, I found that like I strayed away from it, and I always came back. About me, I love hanging out with friends. I'm a big foodie. I really enjoy like exploring new places, trying new foods. I'm big on social media. I like kind of watching TikTok. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But yeah, that's pretty much about me. I just like helping people. Yeah, usually when people ask me this question, I dive into a bunch of different things.
Yeah,
But
yeah. So
yeah,
tell us a little bit about the interview process because, like, I was like, damn, this is actually pretty extensive.
yeah.
So, full disclosure, like, I had nothing to do with it. I actually hired Soprani Consulting. It's a
Hmm.
consulting company
Hmm.
to really help me find the perfect fit.
Hmm.
And I think they did a great job. Explain how that process was and what you were thinking and what that experience was like.
Yeah, it was definitely like different, I will say, than any interview experience I've ever done. Like it was very in depth, and I will give like credit where credit is due to Soprani because I mean they really did their due diligence with like
Yeah.
trying to like find someone and making perfect matches between like the they did different like I think it was called like a disc assessment
Hmm.
where like they kind of discover like my personality, and I think that that was they were trying to match something along with what did they make you take a assessment or
I
did you
haven't taken an assessment, but I already know that I'm a
what
high DI
high
just
GI?
from because
Okay.
I've done it
I can't remember what I am. I
before.
have to
Yeah,
check, but
yeah,
yeah, I know that they started with like a phone interview, like they did like a screening, and then they started with like different assessments and stuff that I was taking. I just remember it being very like in depth. But once I got to like the interview process, like I really enjoyed it, especially like finally meeting John and shout out Bridget. She was amazing throughout this entire process. She was just very personable. And I think it, for the first time, especially in an interview process, you always feel like it's very impersonal. Like it's not like personal. It's always just, you always just feel like a number, like a applicant.
it
I don't
wasn't
know.
cookie
Yeah,
cutter. I tell
yeah,
you that much.
yeah. But
Yeah,
it was definitely, it felt very personal, I
yeah.
will say. Like they definitely took the time to like get to know me, like knowing my timeline. I know one of our interviews we had, I think it was like the second one, and that was the first time I met you,
Hmm.
which was doing like a timeline of my life. So she basically shared her screen, and while I was sharing, she was kind of like jotting down notes. And I've never experienced that before, but I will say it was probably my favorite part of the interview process because not only for me, like I felt like I was, being valued in all aspects of my life, but also I felt like that was the first time like me and you kind of resonated with each other, especially with our like both of our parents, like we're first generation.
Hmm.
So I feel like we both recognize a similarity there when I was kind of talking about my life. But Yeah, overall, it was like a very long process, but well worth it. I would say like I love it so far, and hopefully, you got what you wanted.
Yeah, no, I
So,
seriously did. And I always try to almost convince the person like why you shouldn't take the job
yeah.
because I already know
Oh yeah, he was
like
very transparent about that. Like
yeah.
even from the beginning. Funny enough,
Yeah.
sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
I just remembered something. You actually had me come in because all of our interviews were virtual, but he actually had me come in to do like a shadowing session, which was like kind of an interview, but it was like more so just to see like the day in the life of like what it's like to do that job. And so like I sat there watching him and he was being very transparent with me the whole time. He's like, "This is what you're gonna do. Are you sure you would be up to doing this?" And I was like, "Yeah, like it's fine." So you were very transparent from the
I
beginning as
hope
far as
so.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely. But it was
Yeah.
funny because I was like, you was almost like you were trying to talk me out of the job.
Yeah. Well, the running joke is, my wife Jen,
Mhm,
right? She saw you and
mhm,
she visited once,
yeah.
and she was like, "Laura, I don't know how you do it, how you handle." Yeah, because I have a certain personality,
Yeah.
right? I feel like we obviously work really well
Yeah.
together, but obviously I do have a certain
Mhm.
personality. I have certain expectations,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
So with that being said, I do know that I'm probably not compatible with everyone, but
Right.
at the same time, there's a level of understanding that you have, and you have shown ownership.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I will definitely say.
I think it works in our dynamic because I think you set high expectations for yourself and the people around you, and I think that I am also the same way. So like I hold myself accountable to anything I do, but like I do hold myself to a very high standard. And sometimes I like struggle to give myself grace in that aspect, which I think you are also the same way with yourself. So I think in that range, like it's a good balance because it's like you have high standards, but I also have high standards for myself. So we're meeting at the same like standard there. But also we can check each other when we're like, hey, like give yourself some grace. Like,
Mhm.
we did what we could, or you did this or whatever. So I think it's a good balance in our dynamic.
Yeah, and one thing that really attracted me to hiring you was
Hmm.
also your story. Like,
Yeah.
I like to see that you are a human being. I
Yeah.
think there was like cultural things that you were
Hmm.
talking
Hmm.
about family
Yeah.
and all sorts of other
Hmm.
things. And that's actually what really made it very interesting to me
Yeah.
because I take pride in obviously being a Korean
Hmm.
American. Um, so if you can kind of speak to our audience on that
Yeah.
level as far
Absolutely.
as like your story there and your background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am a first generation from parents who were born in Syria. So they immigrated here. My dad came to the country on a school visa. So he actually graduated college in North Jersey in computer science, and that's kind of what he was doing. My mom came to the country after they got married. I believe it was like 1997, so a year before I was born. Um, and so, discovering everything like for the first time, especially from like my mom's perspective and, learning how to speak English, definitely growing up in that environment, it teaches you to definitely like be grateful for the little things that I think we take advantage of every day. Like we're grateful to have as American citizens, but also learning their path and like their struggle, I think is very important. And it's like it builds a lot of like who I am today and a lot of my drive for sure. But I also felt like at the same time, and I'm sure you can agree to this in some because we've had discussions about it. When you're first generation, you have parents that are just work, 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 that are just focused on making a living and providing and bringing food to the table. And sometimes it's like expected for you to like follow the same path as them. So to continue on their legacy. But it's like almost like you feel this pressure, but also you want to create something for yourself and for your future. So I am grateful in a sense that I was able to, kind of see how my parents grew up and learning the difference, but also I've always learned to take what it was important and also like build my own.
Hmm.
But I do value my culture a lot. Like I am so proud to be like a Syrian American. Shout out to all the Syrians out there if you're out there. But yeah, like it's a big part of like who I am. I speak English. Obviously, I speak Arabic
Arabic. Yeah.
fluently.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can speak, read, and write. I'm always watching all different types of shows. You know, all my friends are
Mm-hmm.
Syrian, like, or Arab, so I'm always speaking Arabic with them. So it's just a big part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I really, when I was younger, I didn't embrace it as much as I did now.
Yeah.
But like the older I get, the more I realize like how important it is to have like a identity as far as like nationality.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, and I that's where I resonated,
Yeah.
honestly. And like for me, because most of my clients are similar to me, like they're
Yeah.
Korean
Mhm.
Americans. I told Soprani, like, I'm not looking for someone who is necessarily Korean. Like,
Mhm.
it would be nice because I
Right.
feel like there's a lot of cultural things that
Right,
they
of
would
course.
understand.
Yeah.
But I was so shocked by how similar cultural, like, we've talked about
Yeah,
some of like
yeah,
our
yeah.
issues, and I was like,
Mhm.
that's actually kind of similar.
Yeah, yeah, it's very similar, very
Yeah.
similar.
So I was just like shocked, and I was like, you
Mhm.
know what? I think this is a great fit. Like I
Yeah.
already knew that it was a great fit because there's just some things that you can't explain to someone who isn't a minority,
Yeah,
if that makes any
absolutely,
sense.
yeah.
But I think you understood,
Yeah,
and that's where I
absolutely.
think it clicked right away,
Mhm.
and that's where I kind of thought that it would immediately be a good fit.
Yeah. And I was
So
actually shocked by that too. I was shocked by the amount of, because when we would talk about our issues, I was like, wow, that I didn't know it was like that similar. But I guess like I think we have a lot of similarities between like, you know, Korean and Syrians. I would say like strong family values and like
yes,
high level of respect for your elders and like your parents, and a lot of like different standards as far as like, you know, way of life. I would say is very similar, but I've always considered myself, and I think maybe that stems from it, that I've always tried to keep an open mind with all different cultures because I really just like to learn. Like I love when it comes to like I told you I'm a big foodie, but we were actually talking. I think it was the first
yeah.
time
Wait,
we
time out. So
were.
this girl tried out kejang. So kejang, for people who aren't Korean on the podcast, it's like Korean raw marinated crab, and that's like straight up like the most adventurous choice. So I
The
was
look
like,
he gave me, I was
yeah,
like, it was like trending on TikTok, so
yeah,
I was like, I'll try it.
that's not even like Korean barbecue. That she straight up went from like A to Z. I was like impressed. Yeah,
You should have
yeah,
seen the looks with
yeah,
my, like, I look like a little white girl walking into H
yeah,
Mart. I'm like, where can I find the raw marinade? They look at me like, huh? Like, what are
yeah,
you doing in
yeah,
here?
yeah.
But yeah, I just love like I just keep such an open mind to like cultures and like
Mm-hmm.
even like faith. Not that I'm ever trying to change or see what's right or wrong. It's just for me, I just like to learn because we're all people on this earth.
Sure,
We're all living.
sure.
Like, you know, I like to know what people believe in. I like to know what people do on a day to day because I just feel like knowledge is power. And overall, it just makes you a better human being when you're able to like empathize and fully understand people to like their way of life.
Sure,
I think
sure.
that's important and to not be so close minded.
And I think that's a big part of the reason why we connected
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah.
I think it was on that level we resonated. So,
Hmm.
with that being said,
Yeah.
when you walked in, right,
Mhm.
like, were you like, what the just happened? Like, does John like have his shit together? Like, what were your first thoughts? Like, honestly,
Well,
like,
for
what was?
one, I
Yeah,
thought I was gonna come in my first day, guys. I'm gonna give you an exclusive here.
yeah,
I thought my first day I was gonna come in and like do some type of like, you know how like when you start a job they put you on some type of computer and they're
yeah.
like, all right, sit down. Now it's time
Oh,
to do this
no, you're going
training.
right through it, right through
I
the
sat
fire.
down at this desk. I didn't even put my bag away. He's like, all right, so I need you to send a contract for this property, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Like, so I sat there and I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing because
Yeah.
you know I'm licensed, but I'm licensed in Jersey, so like the difference is there's a big difference, by the
Oh,
way.
yeah.
Like if you know, there's a big difference.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I don't know where to get this form. Like where he's like, I'll walk you through it. Like he kind of walked me through it and we're going, but it was like right away. And I was like, you know what? If he trusts me enough to do this, then I'm gonna do it. Like I'm gonna do it and I'm gonna do the best of my ability. So we managed to find the form, and I don't think you were too like familiar with it because I think you had your VA working on them before,
Yes,
so
yes.
you
Yeah.
kind of didn't know where it was yourself at
Yeah.
one point.
Yeah.
So we were figuring it out. Eventually we got it. You know, he gave me all the terms and stuff. And I would say I think I did a pretty good job with
You
it.
killed it.
That was my first
You killed
contract.
it.
So that was my first
Yeah,
day.
you
And
killed
it was just like it was just thrown right into it. And honestly, if I'm being honest, like I prefer it that way.
Okay.
Because I feel like in this business, like you're never really gonna there's no formal training. You're never really gonna be prepared for what's expected because something's always gonna get thrown at you like left field, and you're like, what does that mean? Like I don't know. And I'm sure based off your experience to this day, you still have those like moments, So I always know to like expect that. For me, it just I put myself in a position where I can prepare myself as much as possible, and like I know what things need to be done, so like I'm getting out of the way to prepare myself for those fires that I need to put out myself. So that's kind of like the way of the business, the nature of the business. So like now that I'm like in it, I'm getting accustomed and I'm starting to create my own system. But I think coming in, there was a lot of things that just needed more like organization. And I obviously see like why you hired me. So, I'm coming in, I'm making these changes, I'm making these SOPs, all this stuff. But, so far so good. And we're seeing.
Oh, for our audience, what are SOPs?
They're just standard procedures basically
Yeah.
for like a way of doing certain things. So it kind of keeps you in check to make sure that you're consistent throughout like all the steps to complete a certain thing.
Mhm.
So, that's very important to us. I would value like coming from customer service personally, like I really value like consistency amongst all your clients. And I want to make sure that I deliver the same type of effort with every single person, no matter what price their home is, no matter where it is. Like I'm delivering the same standard. If they're hiring John Lee, like, and I represent you, like that's something that's important to me. So that's something I would say like I like to remain consistent, and that's kind of what we're working towards right now.
Yeah, and for our audience, like
Mhm.
behind the curtain,
Mhm.
this is actually what being a real estate agent is. Like I
Mhm.
think I quite often say that when you're watching Selling Sunset or any of those
Dubai Bling.
HGTV, it's very attractive to watch
Mhm.
these like Beverly Hill agents like show a house and explaining what everything about the house and what's
Mhm.
inside of it. But when you pull behind the curtain, like what you're doing
Mhm.
is a big portion of the business, which is amazing, by the way.
Thanks.
The other thing that I would say is, as you might have known
Mhm.
firsthand experience,
Mhm.
you actually learn from doing, right?
Yeah.
So if you want to elaborate on that, and I mean, you already talked about it, but if you
Yeah.
just want to elaborate.
I would definitely say you can get like formally trained, like, okay, this is, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. And that's like really any job, but especially real estate. You're going to get very specific situations that you've just never experienced before and like never happened before. Some people that have been in the business for over 20 years have never heard of it before and are trying to figure it out with you. So it's like you get these very specific situations where like you need to like stay collected because it needs to get done at the end of the day, but also it's like there's a lot of like what's going on in the air. So really taking those moments and like learn to like center myself and like, okay, well, it's clear that I'm not the only one here that doesn't know what's going on. And so, like, give yourself some grace there. And it's like, what do we know? And like, how can we get answers? Applying a lot of critical thinking into this job is kind of like how you learn based off of experience because you're trying to find solutions at the end of the day.
Sure.
Like, no matter what the situation is, it needs a solution. So it's like, how are we reaching that solution? What can I do? Where can I go for answers for certain things that could match the puzzle to solve the story? It's a lot of that. So it's like lots of critical thinking, I would definitely say, to like help me get there. But not saying that you'll never see something twice, but sometimes you'll never see it before and it'll come up. So it's like, oh, at least now I know what to do in this specific situation, which I don't know if I'll run into again. But hey, more experience for me.
So would you say that this career,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously you've only been here for what, 2 months? Is
Yeah.
it 2 months now?
Like, yeah.
It's about 2 months?
Yeah, a month and a half. Yeah.
Okay, so you've been in the career for about 2 months. Would
Mhm.
you say that this is radically different than what you're accustomed to? I think we talked about it
Yeah,
before, that it
yeah.
hits a lot of the things that you
Mhm.
like to do.
Mhm.
It's kind of ironic because I had lunch with Jen today,
Mhm.
and I was like, you know what? I think Laura genuinely likes the things that I don't like.
Yeah.
Like
And then I realized that too, actually. Yeah.
like you planned out our
Mhm.
trip, and I was like, I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like there was a lot of things that you did. Like by the way, you don't do just like the business
Mhm.
side of it. I think you do some of the personal things as
Yeah.
far as like planning trips and stuff. So that really helps. So thank
Yeah,
you.
so of
Yeah.
course, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I always made the joke actually with my fiance Rami. Hi Rami, if you're watching this. But I always made the joke with him. I'm like, what job can be this plus a little bit of this and this and this? And it's like event planning, organizing, customer service. It's like taking away like little things from each job that I've ever had, or like things that I just enjoy doing overall. Like in my friend group, I'm the type A friend. I'm the one that usually is getting everyone together. Like, okay, we're meeting here at this time. They're always relying on me for that.
You're the glue.
I am the glue,
Yeah,
100%.
my best friend's like
I am
that.
the
He's the
glue.
glue with
Yes,
our
I'm like,
friends. Yeah.
okay, come hang
Yeah.
out at my house. I'm
Yeah.
having dinner here. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's usually meeting and socializing at my house. Excuse me. I love hosting people, so it's like,
Yeah.
that is my jam. So, you can imagine now, like even me planning my wedding, like I have 10 bridesmaids. I'm still planning it myself because I'm
What
like,
the hell's
yeah.
Rami doing? Rami, like, did he run out of friends?
No, Rami, listen, half of it is family, so
Okay.
like 3/4 of it is family.
Like,
So
do I have to be in there?
oh
Like,
my
like, what's going
god,
on?
yeah, no. But like I'm still
Yeah.
like my batch
Alright.
trip, it's fully like I'm making reservations.
That's awesome.
I'm doing so
Yeah.
it's everything that I enjoy, and it's funny because like you sit there and you're like, I'm so sorry, like I know this is a lot for you, and I'm like, a lot?
Yeah.
No. I'm like, please, like I love it. Like
Yeah.
planning vacations, even his personal things. Like we even talked about like events, which little hint coming soon.
Yeah, we're gonna do something.
Gonna do
Yeah,
something
we're gonna do
soon.
something, guys.
But
Yeah.
I think it was just, I don't know, almost like reflecting on my past career and like, things that I've enjoyed and like honing in on my skills. It's definitely a lot of things that I liked. And I always said that I wanted to be challenged,
Mhm.
like consistently challenged. And so I definitely feel like that job, like this job checks all that boxes,
Sure.
like all those boxes
For
for
sure.
me. Yeah.
And that's the thing. Obviously, there's a level of professionalism
Mhm.
that you and I have to have with
Right.
each other,
Right.
but at the same time, I try to be as human as
Yeah.
possible. I don't know what it means to be politically correct. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah.
that's the best way to put
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
because I had very few, if not only one job that
Mhm.
I worked at retail banking, by the way. So that was another empathetic situation that I had. I was like, man, like I don't know what your experiences
Yeah.
were, but mine was like obviously just not a good experience.
Yeah.
And then it was just like, man, like so there was a lot of good connections that you and I had that way.
Definitely. I would say like the banking experience.
Yeah.
So just for
Yeah.
clarification,
Yeah.
I used to work at TD for
Yeah.
like 3 years, and I worked like during COVID too. So it was definitely an experience to say the least. You did have a lot of people. I mean, it's people's money, so you're ultimately, when it comes to like the customer service level. And I was a banker and also a cross-trained teller, so I was on both sides. So you have people yelling at you about their money, and not, they're high tense, they're anxious all the time. Like that, I think I'm grateful for the experience, because I would say like I wouldn't be as patient and as
Sure.
empathetic with people
Sure.
as I am now if it wasn't for that. Like understanding, like even in real estate, like people are going to be anxious. Like a lot of people are confiding in you to, and trusting you to make one of maybe the biggest purchases of their life. So like obviously you have to understand that like if they do come a certain way or whatever, it's usually from a point like of anxiety that they just need to feel like that sense of relief, or just reassurance. But I would definitely say like our banking experience, yeah, he used to work at, you said Wells Fargo. Yeah, like that was it was very funny. Like when we were sitting and talking about our experiences, we're like, what are they expecting from
Yeah.
us like
Yeah.
in this job? So yeah, I would
it was
definitely say,
it was tough for me
Yeah.
because that's when John Stump was CEO,
Mhm.
and John Stump he got fired
Yeah.
because of creating false accounts and
Mhm.
all sorts of stuff, and
Yeah.
I just didn't like the work environment, so that's where
Mhm.
I left. But anyway, what I've learned though was that like I just knew that it was a good fit
Yeah.
for you,
Yeah.
and like I said, I was telling Jen, I was like how the hell do you like the things that I just like the mental load of that
Yeah.
is so crazy. And what people don't know, what Lara does is, yeah, she's interacting with you
Mhm.
guys, especially with like customer service and just making sure that the transaction is moving very smoothly.
Mhm.
But the other half of my business, if you guys didn't know, is property management.
Mhm.
So then you've been handling that too.
Mhm.
So it's not a very cookie cutter position.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you're dealing with like the investing aspect
Yeah.
of it. You're dealing with the customer service
Mhm.
facing, especially with my
Yeah.
clients. All my clients are great, by the way. Like I don't think there's a
You
single
guys
one
are
that
great. I'm not complaining about one
yeah.
single one. No.
I don't think there's a single person that has given you a hard time.
Mm-mm.
But with that being said, there's just a lot of balls that you're honestly juggling and a lot of
Mhm.
hats that you're
Yeah.
wearing, and you're doing it really well.
Mhm.
So kudos to
Thanks.
you.
Thanks.
Kudos to you.
I think it's just important to realize that they're all a priority, and like especially in the beginning when I was like still learning everything.
Hmm.
Even though I've only been here for a month, I feel like I definitely can say that I have a better grasp of like responsibility for them and treating them both like a priority and being able to prioritize both at the same time, because they're equally as important. um, but yeah, I think my main thing was just trying to build a relationship with all of your clients and your tenants, and making sure that they can come to me for anything they need, because that's kind of why I'm here, is to like offload that,
Hmm.
and move that over, but also create like a second hand. It's like you're not fully removing yourself from the transaction, but you're actually getting help. So in the essence of why is John Lee different than another agent, that's an aspect of customer service that I feel like we provide. And my goal is to be able to reach a point where my follow up, with each and every single person is consistent, along the whole way from A through Z. And like
Sure.
people can literally message me whenever with whatever question, and I can find that answer for them.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, like, think about it, guys. Like, I have some people that come up to me and just like ask me, like, John, how do you post every day? Like, if I did it myself, I can't.
Hmm.
I can't post every single day,
Yeah.
take care of the
Hmm.
transactions, go out on appointments, prospect. You know what I mean? All like, I need help at the
Hmm.
end of the day. So, we have Wendell,
Yeah.
right? Shout out to Wendell.
He's our
He's
VA.
our VA.
Yeah.
He works part time,
Hmm.
so then he handles a lot of the posting on the social media.
Hmm.
Obviously, you're helping along with that.
Yeah.
You're moving things along in the
Hmm.
transactions and with property management.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're fully on
Yeah.
board with
That's
that now.
I got
Yeah.
a good grasp of that. Especially in property management, like you need to be definitely more like, how do I explain it? Like stern, like showing them like, hey, like I'm here. But it's like I'm not very like bendable to your needs, if that makes sense. Cause I felt like that was in the beginning. It was like uh maybe I took that the wrong way, but I would say like definitely like knowing, like letting them know like your place in the business, and that like I can work with you in whatever you need,
Hmm.
but there's also standards that need to be met as like a tenant that you need to make sure you're following. So like having that mutual respect and establishing that respect, because obviously I know that it needs to be earned, is something that I think was very important. But like now that I'm there, I feel like with most of the people, a lot of people, there's not a lot of communication, but with most of them, it feels good, because then it's like they almost like want to make sure they're doing things right, just so that they don't like disappoint, or that they don't be on like bad terms or bad graces with anyone. So
I think it
yeah.
also has to deal with your customer service level
Yeah.
because there's been several. You've heard me. So we're in the same office, guys, and I have it on either speakerphone
Yeah, I
just
have to
so
act invisible sometimes. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, or
ah.
I'll have it on the phone and she
Mm,
can hear.
mm.
And some of these conversations, it's just like it's wild, but it's crazy because when she talks to them, like the day after, a week
Yeah.
after, like it gets smoothed over, and
Hmm.
it's like wow, like I've been in the business for a long time,
Yeah.
so like makes me think like, what am I doing wrong? There's a lot that I can even learn from you. As far as
Yeah.
like effectively communicating
Hmm.
with people,
Hmm.
and then also understanding different personalities of people, which I think you've
Yeah.
done a great job, by the way.
I guess I would say I would give credit to my like customer service, because I've been in like like managerial positions,
Right,
like
right.
so I was a manager at Athleta, and I was also like, a banker slash teller at TD Bank. And I would definitely say like in situations like those, it's very important to like remove your emotion from that position, and like not treat it as someone who's like directly yelling at you. They're upset with the situation because they don't understand it. So it's like removing myself, regardless if they, whatever they say to me, even if it's directed at me, like if they're cursing me out, like I'm not taking it as like, oh, you're attacking me. Like, no, they're attacking the situation. And I think they just need clarity. That's the way that I process situations. and like learning to just respond with empathy. Like, I fully understand your frustration. This is why you feel like this is why this is, I think, what's confusing about this. Let me give you that clarity. When they see that you're taking the time to kind of like go out of your way to explain things to them, and you're not responding with the same type of emotion, because that's only going to reach like so far when it's like she's here and then I'm here and then
It's a pissing contest.
exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
treating it as like, okay, she's
Yeah.
here, but I'm still
Yeah.
talking to her here, she's
Yeah.
gonna feel like within herself, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk to her like that because she's not really
Yeah.
responding and it's not working. So let me just talk to her at her level. I know that you studied like psychology in college, so we've had conversations about that before. But I take a lot of interest in psychology as well, so I always like to learn like why people are the way they are, why things, so that's something within me that sometimes it's to a fault, but in the sense of customer service, it definitely benefits me because I can remove myself, like the emotional side, where I can still be empathetic, but I'm not taking it personally. And they end up respecting that a lot because I am taking the time and I do want to find a solution. I don't want you to get upset. But let's figure this out, like
Sure.
for the both of
Sure,
us.
sure.
So yeah, I definitely lead everything in that way. And I always, keep that integrity as far as the way I treat people. And, it's worked for me so far. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. So this is Lara, guys.
Hello.
I just wanted to really introduce everyone to you. And any parting words, anything that you want to say, or anything that
Well,
I might have missed that you wanted to add?
I can't really think of anything, but
Okay.
I'm happy to be here. I know John every day asks me if I still want to be here, and I do.
I seriously do. I'm
He
just
does.
like, are you sure you still want to be here?
I'm looking forward to keep working with you guys. Anyone new coming on, John is great at what he does. I see it firsthand, so I definitely want to give him his kudos. He definitely does. He's talented at what he does, and he does care a lot about the service that he gives you guys. So I want to uphold that as well. And, I look forward to the future.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Take care.
John Lee Real Estate, find you the best rates. All throughout Philly like Schuylkill Expressway. Talking to people who out of the 215, even the 267, who